frontier.
Larsson. Oh, he's in! Henrik Larsson! That is sensational! Lambert! Oh, what a way to settle it! Nakamura! It's Tom Rogic! Xavi's error. This is Tony Watt. He's done it! This is the stuff of legend!
This is Celtic Daft with G4 Claims. Been involved in a road traffic accident? Get them now at notitfaultclaims.com.
Welcome to Celtic Daft, your Celtic specific podcast from Football Daft. I am producer Ryan. Thank you very much for checking out Celtic Daft this week. Now, if you listen to the main Football Daft podcast, you'll have heard this week that Chris sadly lost his dad, Jim Toll. Understandably, Chris has taken a few weeks away from both podcasts. Thoughts of everyone at Football Daft are with Chris and his family, and hopefully we'll see him back here on both Football and Celtic Daft next week. But like I say, this is Celtic Daft, where we take a look at the hoops in a little bit more detail each week. And in Chris's absence, I'm joined by two pundits this week. First up is David Campbell. David, how you doing?
Aye, no bad, Ryan, no bad. Happy to be called in last minute. I'm starting to be a jinx whenever I show up at Parkhead, but so I'm thinking that this might be the last week I'll be there in person for a while, just to see if that's true.
Well, do you know what, mate? It takes a big man to admit that he's the fault. So well done. Well done to you for admitting that. Right, David, this is your first time on Celtic Daft, so we do a couple of wee things here for anybody who comes on for the first time. Two questions. One, who's your favourite all-time Celtic player?
That's tough because I grew up under the sort of Martin O'Neill era when I was younger, so it's probably easy to say Henrik Larsson, but I think instead I'm going to say Big Bobo, because that was the player I tried to emulate the most when I played, you know.
See you at fives taking folk at the game. Big Bobo, he does.
Mate, if you're no good, cheat. That's what I say.
Quite right. Right. Second question then. Favourite Celtic moment? You got a memory that sticks with you supporting Celtic?
It's probably Barca, Tony Watt. Just in high school when that happened back in the day. Great time. What a
game that was. That's one of the ones that always comes up, that Tony Watt goal. I've seen him the other night, or the other day, even before Rangers played Motherwell at the weekend. He was getting interviewed, and I just thought, what a fall from grace that guy had. You know,
you don't really need to do much, Ryan, after that, but you know what I mean?
True, very, very true. Right, secondly then, also making his Celtic Daft debut, it's Matthew King. How you doing, Matthew?
I'm good, what about you?
Yeah, not bad, mate. Is it Matthew, Matty, Matt? What do you prefer?
Matthew, Matty, whatever.
You don't care, as long as it's not a swear word, you're fine. Right, Matthew, same questions to you then, mate. Favourite Celtic player of all time?
Well, in my lifetime, probably, because I'm only 19, so probably first player that I really remember that watching was Nakamura. It's probably my lifetime, but overall, probably Henrik Larsson. You've got to say him.
Good stuff. And what's your favourite Celtic moment then, mate?
Probably a few. Probably go the same, probably Barcelona. I was a bit younger then, obviously, but maybe more recent, the League Cup final against Rangers when Julian scored.
Mate, how can you pick that as your favourite moment? I hated every minute of that game.
I know, but that's the thing, though. How it was such a bad game, and then there was just that one moment.
It was a wonderful moment. I remember I was in line with Julian just as a kind of expert, and I'm not going to lie to you boys. I think I lost years of my life at that game. It was just the most horrific thing to sit through. But when that final whistle went, what a feeling! What a feeling of elation that was.
100%. Another one would probably be the treble. But, you know, that was followed by some bad news in the aftermath, you know.
which we don't like to discuss. We don't talk about the negatives too much. And that turned out to be a negative moment. So well played, Celtic. Thank you very much for ruining a beautiful day. That was great. Thank you. Right, so boys, we've got two games to discuss then. Firstly, we'll look at the weekend. We were at home to Livingston, chance to go top of the league with Rangers playing on Sunday, like I said, against Motherwell. Lined up with Beaton replacing the injured Tom Rogic. We'll discuss that a little bit later on. Kyogo on the bench as well. Giakoumakis up top with Abada and Jota either side of him. Usual back four that we've been going with recently of Ralston, Carter-Vickers, Starfelt and Juranovic at left back as well. Matthew, going into the game, were you quite confident going into this one off the back of two good wins against both St Johnstone and Hibs?
Yeah, definitely. There was no reason not to feel confident. It was just, I knew there was he dropped Postecoglou, dropped Kyogo, probably just a bit of just resting them for that game. So, because we all thought we were going to win that, it was just frustrating in the end that we never got the result.
David, he mentions Kyogo there getting rested. One of the kind of big worries that I always have just now is watching our game with Kyogo on the team and then watching us without him. We seem to lack a wee bit of creativity up front and then kind of runs in behind. When you've seen Giakoumakis up front, he's come on as a sub a couple of times. He's looked all right. How are you feeling with him leading the line in this game?
I think if this was your only time watching him, like you'd be thinking I wouldn't be in a hurry to put him back in the team because the big man was up there to do a job. He was meant to get himself in the right places, getting the end of balls, getting in the box, and he didn't do any of that. And when you add on to that the penalty miss and the chance he missed at the end, it's always going to be a frustrating game against Livingston just with the way they line up. But if you're not going to take the chances when they come, you can't be justifying your place in the team, especially when you're that type of player.
Matthew, Giakoumakis, what were you thinking when you seen the big man in the starting lineup? Then were you confident that, you know, like you said there, we can get the job done, or did it put a bit of doubt in your mind when you seen that lineup?
Not really. No, I've been quite happy from what I've seen with him before that game. I was quite happy, so I didn't really have any reason to be kind of pessimistic about him starting. So yeah, I was really confident when I was listening to the radio when I was driving to the game. I heard the lineup through that, and I still thought we're missing Kyogo. So, but I didn't think that was going to really make much of a difference. But it proved to make a bit of a difference.
Mm-hmm. David, the midfield in this one, like I said, Beaton was in for Rogic, so with the midfield three, McGregor, Beaton and Turnbull. It became kind of evident in the game that Beaton was taking on that holding position that McGregor has been kind of dictating games from. For me, I'm not a fan of Beaton anyway. I think we lose quite a bit in the team when we play Beaton. Obviously, I had to go in because we, look at the bench there. The only other option that could go in to that position would be James McCarthy, and I never want to see him playing for Celtic ever again. But how do you think that impacted us in this game? You kind of going forward.
Before I argue that, I do want to defend Beaton a wee bit before I say what I'm going to say, because you're right, he's better than McCarthy, and I'd argue Soro have been when they've played that similar role this season up until this point. And you see the importance of having Beaton in the squad when Starfelt goes down injured. He is a good utility man. He's a guy that can fill in a lot of holes in the team. But having said that, when you're dropping out Tom Rogic with injury, who gives you something direct in the midfield, gives you that inventiveness, gives you that something extra going forward, the pace is just slowed with Beaton. He's not the type of player who's going to come in and create many chances. He is defensive minded. He does like to slow the pace of the game. And like you said, when we're going up against Livingston, a team who will park the bus, it's not what you're wanting there. He's not going to really add anything going forward for you against a team like that.
Matthew, do you agree with that then, that take on Beaton? Is that something you were happy to see coming in, or would you rather we don't really have any other options. It's quite a catch-22 we've got. There was, like I said, it was James McCarthy was the second option. How are you feeling seeing Beaton in that squad?
Yeah, it's just kind of mixed feelings about Beaton. He's been here, he's been at the club for years, but he's kind of, when he comes in, kind of a player that wouldn't really have him starting. I would maybe have him come off the bench and maybe just a player to fill in for if someone gets injured, and just to kind of does a job off the bench. I think, but it doesn't really add. I don't think he really adds anything to the team.
Aye, so I mean, overall, then look at the match on a whole before we discuss the penalty. Right, we had 16 shots in this game, only 2 which were on target. So for our standards at home against a team like Livingston, David, that shows that we were lacking that kind of wee bit of creativity, albeit it's tough to create chances against 11 men behind the ball, if they park it in their box. But do you think we lacked a little bit in this game that would have hopefully cut that open a bit?
Yeah, Matthew said the word earlier, and it's frustrating. It was a frustrating game to watch, and like the thing that we were missing was Tom Rogic in the middle of the park. You know what I mean? That would have been the key difference. And I think the problem that we had was Jota in the first half was really our best attacking threat because he was getting to the byline, he was getting balls in. We've seen a lot of goals like that come from him, and Abad on the opposite side doing that this season. But as the game went on, people seemed less willing to go and beat the man, like to try and get the balls in. And in the second half, like you bring on Johnston and he would be beating like 2 men, but then cutting back and passing, like he didn't have the faith in himself or confidence. I know he's just back for injury to try and get that final ball in. So it was a frustrating watch because we seemed to have one game plan like for the first half. And when that stopped working out, we didn't seem to know what to do going forward.
Matthew, that's what we always hear about Ange Ball. It doesn't change his philosophy, he sticks to it. David mentioned there about Mikey Johnston coming on. I thought he had a decent game on Wednesday away at Hibs. He's looked quite sharp since he came back from injury. What was your thoughts on Johnston's performance at the weekend when he came on? Do you think he was lacking a little bit, like David said?
I mean, yeah, I think it's just, he is just coming back from injury, so I think it's probably just going to take him a while to get back into the team. But I thought, like touching on what David said as well with Jota, I thought the first half he was like absolutely brilliant. I love Jota, just his skills, and I think he had so much to the team. But going back in Johnston, I think it's just a matter of, I don't know. I've never really fully rated Johnston. I do like him, but it's just, I think there's something missing. I don't know. I can't put my finger on what it is, but there's something missing about him.
He's definitely the skills in his Arsenal. But we've seen what he can do. When he is free flowing. I go back a few seasons. That goal that he scored against, I think it was Rennes. He scored against when he ripped apart like 3 guys and buried at the bottom corner. It was a brilliant goal. That's what he can do, taking men on. Matthew, just very quickly before we move on, for that I mentioned there about this. What David said there about Ange Ball and not changing it and having a game plan to begin with. Do you think that's something that would hinder us, or are you in the camp of going, listen, Ange knows what he's wanting to do, stick with it and it'll hopefully come good?
A bit of a mix. I know that it does look sometimes, but I was thinking about this earlier. It's like it's starting to see a pattern. We're going in spells of 2 and 3 weeks of good results, and then we're going in another form of 2 or 3 weeks with poor results. So I think there is as Chris has been saying as well in the podcast, he's not got doesn't look like he's got a plan B, which does seem quite worrying. But at the same time, though, I do trust him. I still trust him that he knows what he's doing. So
same question to you then, David. Ange Ball, are you in? Are you still buying it?
Aye, I'm 100% in and 100% trust Ange because it's night and day compared to the team and the squad we had last season. Don't forget, this is Ange after one window. A window where things were happening a bit slowly for him, where maybe he didn't have the full faith of the board yet, the full backing of the board yet. He's proved with the players that he's brought in and the philosophy and style of football he plays to make an improvement at Celtic, and I think that can continue going forward. My concern was, I think we kind of saw the plan B this week, and that's sticking Giakoumakis up front to try and offer you something different. So that's now my concern. I think we've seen the plan B, and what it turns out is the plan B's not that great. The plan B's a bit mince at times. You know what I mean? So I think I'm happy with just sticking with plan A from now on for a wee bit.
Do you know what, mate? I'm with you on that one. I'm with you on that. Right, okay. You mentioned the big man there, Giakoumakis. Let's go on to the penalty. So ball comes in, right-hand side. Goalie takes it. Kyogo's got a bit of a scuffle at the back. He pushes Obalai. Giakoumakis, he's like, big man, come on. Away you go. Don't dare it. Don't know what he's thinking, the big guy. He smacks Kyogo across the back of the head. Listen, he milks it, right? But we can discuss referees at another point. I thought John Beaton, usually John Beaton. I thought Bobby Madden had a rotten game at the weekend, and I think the only way Kyogo was going to get something for that is if he milked it. So
yeah,
all for it. Listen, it's a penalty regardless. Don't know what the big guy's doing. Red card, off he goes. I'm Matthew, I don't know where you're sitting. I know where David was sitting for this game. I'm sitting directly behind the goals that's going to go into. And I see Giakoumakis standing in the ball. And I just thought to myself, and I didn't say it to anybody, I just went, I've not got a good feeling about this. This isn't going in. What was your thoughts, Matthew, seeing the big man with the ball?
I was the exact same. I sat in the Jockstein upper, just at the balcony, so I was right directly at it. So I could see that, like, I just didn't have a good feeling about it at all. Yeah, but I think it was like, cause the guy that I didn't really see it, but the guy sitting next to me was saying, like, he was Giakoumakis. He was like, he like demanded that he was taking the penalty. It was like Juranovic wanted to take it, but I don't know if the past few weeks I've noticed, like, there's something. I think there's something between the two of them. I don't know, because there was a video. I think it was the St Johnstone game at home, and it was the end of the game, and Juranovic and Kyogo were celebrating, and Giakoumakis walks up to him and he's kind of like pulls him up about something. It looks as if they're kind of arguing a wee bit, so I don't know what's going on there, but I've kind of noticed it the past few games. It's so
right, David. Same question to you there, mate, about Giakoumakis taking this ball. Like, what was your thoughts? Obviously, we can. What I'll say just now is that Ange has come out afterwards and said that is who he nominated. So that's an Ange decision to put him number one. In defence of the big man, he was top goal scorer in the Eredivisie last season, despite his team, I think, it relegated into the team that he was with.
Yeah.
Or they were fairly low down anyway. He was top goal scorer. Quite a lot of them were penalties. So
100% penalty rate, I think he had.
Aye, so he was quite prolific. So I don't think it was a bad choice to put him in. My thing, David, was, if you've got a guy like Juranovic on the pitch who's just scored his last two, go with a guy who's in form. Go with a guy who's scoring the penalties. You know, why would you? It's okay if you want to give Giakoumakis his confidence of scoring a couple of goals, but do that when you're winning 3-0. Don't do it in nothing each in the 92nd minute.
Yeah, exactly. 100% better the devil you know. Stick with what you know works. The penalty that Juranovic hit the other week there was an absolute. It was a blinder. You know what I mean? And the difference between that one is, like, even if the keeper guesses the right way with a penalty like the one he hit, odds are they will still have trouble saving it. It's the complete opposite with the Giakoumakis penalty. You know what I mean? He barely taps it into the corner. It's a horrendous hit. But the problem with it for me is, Ryan, it comes down to strikers' ego. I think a lot of the time with penalties, strikers are like, "Oh, I'm taking this because they can add to my goal tally. I'm hired here to be the goal scorer," when really that shouldn't be the case. That shouldn't be what's the forefront of your mind. It's what's better for the team. And the guy who's been scoring penalties week in, week out for us, who is in form with it, that's who should be taking the penalty. But hindsight is 2020. You've talked about his stats for last season and stuff like that with Giakoumakis. It's just unfortunate that happened when we're 0-0 against a Livingston team that was hard to break down.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a very poor penalty. There's absolutely no conviction behind it whatsoever. My heart sank when I seen it because, like I said at the top of this section of the show, it was a chance to go top of the league. It was a chance to kind of put that marker down and make Rangers think about it when they go to Motherwell. I mean, albeit Rangers won 6-1 on Sunday, so probably made no difference to them anyway. Motherwell were due a scudding, but it still would have kept us there. And now we're sitting 4 points behind. At this point, you just don't want that kind of gap creeping in again. One thing I wanted to bring up was Callum McGregor's comments after the game, and I think this is more of a wider comment about teams like Livingston. You know, he came out, done his interview, asked about the game, and the first thing he said was, you know, there was only one football team wanting to win that game of football today. You know, the Livingston's tactics, albeit it worked, they got a point out of it, fair enough, but there was only one team wanting to win. And Matthew, what's your thoughts on Livingston as a whole? Have you got? So it's like a really weird question, saying have you got a problem with the way that they set up? Obviously, it doesn't really matter how we feel about it. You know, they set up and they got a point from the game, and that could be a crucial point for them kind of battling kind of mid to lower table. But going to watch a game of football, would you like to see a bit more for them, or can you kind of understand where they're coming from?
Yeah, I understand, because if you were David Martindale, you would probably thinking, well, I'd be happy with taking a draw from Celtic Park, so I would probably set up the same way, just like putting everybody back, just playing the defensive. But yeah, but at the same time, it can be quite boring. It's very boring to watch, and so I'd like it to be maybe come at us a bit more, but it's never going to happen. So,
what about you, David? You think the same as Matthew there? Like to see a bit more for them, but you can kind of understand that tactic.
There's three certainties in life, like death, taxes, and Livi parking the bus, Ryan. Like, that is what that team does. That's what that team's built to do. And I get what Callum McGregor's saying, because obviously it's frustrating, but what do you expect? To me, the onus isn't on, Livi should be coming and playing football at Celtic Park. The onus is the Celtic team should be creating more chances, doing more to get a goal. You know what I mean? You talk about it, 2 shots on target the entire game. That's all on Celtic. Fair play to Livi. Like you're saying, they are not on the level of Celtic. They don't have the funds of Celtic. They don't have the transfer budget of Celtic. They're not being expected to challenge for league titles like Celtic are. So I don't have any issue really with Livi when all is said and done. What I do have an issue with is Celtic not being able to break down Livi when they know exactly the game that Livi are going to come to Celtic Park and play.
All good. So, yeah, like we say, nothing each. We're now sitting 4 points behind at the top of the table. Bit of work to do. Hopefully we can kind of crack on. One thing I just wanted to note, there was an article that came out after the game. Apparently Livingston have contacted Celtic to report racial abuse on Obalai from somebody in the Celtic crowd. They may listen to this podcast, they may not. If it is you that listens to that, please do not come back. There's no place for that whatsoever at Celtic Park. We don't condone it at all. At a time that we're showing racism, the red card, taking these at the start of the game, there's absolutely no place for that whatsoever at Celtic Park.
It's Nakamura. It's
So, boys, we move on then to Thursday. We are away in Hungary to Ferencvaros. There's going to be no Celtic fans in the stadium. They confirmed that they're not accepting vaccine passports. It's a tough... Ferencvaros are a tough team. They're no mugs. We won 2-0 last time we played them at home, which was a good result, a very good result for us to pick up, because we've had our problems with them in the past. They put us at the Champions League a couple of years ago. They got to the groups that year. They're a very, very good outfit. So getting that 2-0 victory for them, against them, was decent for us. David, how you looking at this game going ahead? Obviously, no Tom Rogic in this one. We've got no Starfelt anymore. He's out for a few weeks now. So that's that kind of, I'm going to say spine. We've also got other players there, but you've a solid defender and a solid midfielder out of your team. How you feeling going into this? A big game for us.
I don't know how I'm feeling confidence-wise, because I'm never confident in Europe these days with Celtic. I've had my heart broken too many times, but this game is one of the most important of our season. Like, firstly, if we win it, that's conference football secured after Christmas, so at least some form of European football for us. But in spite of my fear, deep down, I still believe that we can get out of this group. We get a result here. If it's a draw in the other game again, like, all you need to do is get a result against Betis, you know what I mean, going forward. So this, to me, is one of the most important games of our season up until this point. So I'm really just hoping we can try and pull the 3 points out of the bag here. But like you say, they're no mugs.
That's a very, very hot take, thinking we can get out of this group. I'm setting myself up for third, mate. I'm like, beat Ferencvaros twice, we'll be fine, we'll get conference football. You're going one more, Matthew. What are you thinking of that? You think we're going to get out of this group?
Well, I think just the most realistic is the Conference League. Definitely, I think we could. Well, if we beat Ferencvaros on Thursday, which we probably should, but again, as you said, they're no mugs. Then we'll probably will. Is that us through then to the Conference League, or is it?
I don't think it's confirmed. I mean, well, not officially confirmed. I mean, Ferencvaros can go and beat Leverkusen and Betis twice, and we can lose twice, and they could beat us in goal difference or whatever. But that's
you're
not
saying
gonna
I
happen.
have hot takes. You think Ferencvaros are going to go back-to-back victories against those two?
Absolutely not, mate. No way am I saying that. But listen, I would rule nothing out when it comes to Celtic in Europe. Like that, that would just be our luck. But no, I agree with you, Matthew. I think conference is the best bet for us. If we can get out of this group, David Campbell, I will buy you 10 rounds of pints, mate. All right, there you go. Said it on Celtic Daft.
I'm telling you, mate, a draw in that other game, a win against Betis, mate. We've got this in the bag, I'm telling you.
Okay, interesting. Matthew, what you thinking going into this game? Do you think it'll be a relatively easy victory for us, or do you think we'll need to work for it quite a bit?
It will be tough, definitely. I think it won't be a high-scoring game anyway. I don't think it would be tough over there. I think it's quite a hostile crowd as well over there, so it would definitely be hard. But I think we should. I'm quietly confident we'll get the job done. But there's always, again, as David said earlier as well, it's Celtic in Europe. There's nothing really to be confident about. But
usual for Celtic.
John Hudson lays up the shot!
So just a couple of bits then, boys, for the news from Celtic this week. And it's injury news, unfortunately. The first one that we discussed earlier on, but we'll talk a bit more in detail about the impact, is Tom Rogic. He's been ruled out until after the international break in a few weeks' time. David, we discussed that in the kind of game against Livingston, how much he was missed. How much are we going to miss Tom Rogic over the next few weeks, and what do you feel he brings to us?
He's become the Owen Hargreaves of Celtic Football Club to an extent. The man's had a lot of injuries over his time here, man. But like we talked about what we missed about him in the game this week. Like he brings a direct approach. Like his stamina and fitness have come on tenfold under Ange. There was a point he couldn't last 60 minutes, and now he's playing, he's getting through games, which is an improvement for him. I think we do miss him purely because we don't have another player like him who we can fill that role, fill that void right now. And I'm worried about that heading into the European game rather, coming up on Thursday. So hopefully he gets back sooner rather than later and he's ready to go, because he is someone that we can't replace with the squad we've got right now.
Matthew, we've seen what Rogic can bring to this squad, particularly over the last few games. One that sticks in my mind most recently was the goal, Kyogo's goal against Hibs, the work that he done for that, skinning, I think he skinned the whole team before he played the ball through to Jota. Like how much are you going to miss that, seeing somebody like Rogic in the Celtic team going forward?
Yeah, I think it's a massive blow, to be honest. I mean, he's past few seasons, he's not been his old self, but I think under Ange he's kind of starting to find his feet a bit again. He's starting to see like huge glimpses of what it was a few seasons ago. So it's a good sight. So hopefully when he comes back, and hopefully he's not out for too long, and he can fit right back in the team again, because he does make such a huge difference. So I think we'll miss him.
It's crazy to think that we were almost getting rid of Tom Rogic as well a couple of seasons ago, wasn't it? It's criminal, David.
It's night and day. Like to be fair, like there was a period where he wasn't performing, but under Lennon, that was every player in the squad. You know what I mean? So it was hard to really get.
And Lennon as well, mate.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? It's hard to really get a barometer of someone's form under those conditions. You know what I mean? But ever since Ange's come in, it's been a breath of fresh air for the guy. You clearly see that he's enjoying playing his football again. He has that confidence back. Like last season, he wouldn't have made that attempt to try and beat those guys. You know what I mean? And slip the ball through. You just wouldn't have seen it. So hoping he gets back fit, ready to go, because he is a big loss to the team when he's not there.
Just thought about that clip for Still Game there. Good men, shake conditions.
Chance for Di Canio as the flag stayed down. It's got to be, and it is!
So thank you for listening to Celtic Daft. Remember to keep listening, and if you want to become a pundit on Celtic Daft or Rangers Daft if you want, I know some of them listen to this podcast, get signed up to Patreon, patreon.com/football daft. There's posts on there every single week looking for punters to come on each of the shows. Grado and Stephen will be back on the Headline Show this Friday, and in the meantime, like I say, can continue to subscribe, rate and review on Apple or wherever you get your podcast. But until next time, David Campbell,
Hail, hail.
And Matthew King.
Hail, hail.